Today, we're going to learn how to make off-grid candy, an easy skill that you'll want to learn so that you can provide a morale boost to your children or grandchildren, and maybe even yourself. Something that you can use to ease the dark days after SHTF happens and the packaged candy eventually runs out. Welcome to this community. I'm an avid prepper and oath keeper, and I'm certified to teach firearms and the use of deadly force. If you want to learn actual prepping skills and how to protect yourself legally, then please subscribe and also click the bell icon so you won't miss whenever a video is released. In just a minute, we'll be doing step-by-step directions of how to make off-grid candy. But first, let's quickly answer of why you may want to learn and know the skill. After SHTF, when the grid goes down, life will be hard. We'll lose loved ones and we'll face danger and hunger and the cold. Simply put, the spirits and the morale of survivors will be down. So anything that you can do to add a little happiness to your family will help with the drive to push forward and to survive. I have a toddler son, and my fear is that today's climate, from everything from how we manage our economy, to how politically divided we are, to how overpopulated the earth is, my fear is that our comfy way of life and the excess of food and luxury that we enjoy will come crashing down, and only those that prepare, only those that put things back during these good times will survive when the dark times come. But I don't just prep for myself. I love my family and I prep for them. I don't ever want to have to look at them and know that I failed them. But besides putting food into their stomachs during SHTF, I also want to be able to put a smile on their faces. Give them something that will provide a little bit of comfort. Something that will boost their spirits and give them something to look forward to. And here's a big one. If you have a spouse that's not into prepping, this is a fun activity that you can do together that's self-reliance related. Something that you two may enjoy doing together, and just a little something that may help your non-prepping spouse inch just a little closer of accepting your prepping. So you're going to be surprised how easy this off-grid candy is to make. You're going to need just two things: snow and real maple syrup. The first thing that I did was gather snow, and with the snow that you gather, you'll want to pack it down into whatever container you're gathering the snow in. But you'll want the snow to be packed down so that the soon to be heated maple syrup won't be able to just melt right through it. But after you collect your snow and pack it down, keep it in freezing temperature so that it doesn't melt any while you prepare your maple syrup ready to make into candy. Now, I used a half cup of maple syrup, but I'm sure you could use more if you needed to. And the maple syrup that I used was from my own maple syrup that I made from my own tree. But if you don't have a way to make your own maple syrup, you can always just use real maple syrup from the grocery store. I just believe that you'll want to make sure that you buy real actual maple syrup and not one of the pancake syrups that are actually made with high fructose corn syrup and food coloring. So with this half cup of my real maple syrup, I just pour it into a small saucepan, and then I put it over a medium-high heat. Now, because of how dark it was outside, I couldn't do this off-grid and still have the light to videotape it. So I did it on my stovetop, but this can be done just as easily on a camping stove or a rocket stove or whatever else. So once it starts boiling, it helps to have some type of a thermometer because you want the syrup to reach 235 degrees. It's very important that you bring it above just boiling or just bubbling. You want it to heat it to the point that it's actually frothy. And just a warning, if you don't heat it up to a high enough temperature, it will just melt right through the snow when you pour it on top of it. I know this because I found out the hard way the very first time I tried making it. And while it's nice to have the thermometer to know when you've reached the right temperature, Once you've done this a few times, you'll get to know when the maple syrup has reached the right temperature without the thermometer. Now what you're doing is actually bringing the syrup right up to the point just before it burns. So we have found that it seems to help to whisk it to keep it from burning, and also just to keep it from bubbling over out of the saucepan. But once our syrup has bubbled to the point that it's frothy and has reached 235 degrees, then we quickly pour it into strips over the packed snow. Again, because the syrup has now reached such a high heat that it's turned frothy, it will actually stay on top of the snow and harden instead of just melting right through the snow if you only heat it up to a regular boil. And now you just let it cool for just a minute or two, and then it's ready to eat. Now this turns out kind of a toffee type candy. So you can pick it up with your fingers and eat it as is, or you can roll it onto some type of a stick. And you want to eat it pretty quickly if you're inside and away from the outside freezing temperatures, as this will start slowly melting back into maple syrup. But I think I'm going to turn this into a yearly family tradition. Every year when I start harvesting the sap from my maple tree and making my own maple syrup, I think I'm going to take a little bit of the syrup and make this snow candy. And I think that when my son grows older, that he'll look back on this family tradition with fond memories. And then if SHTF happens, then we've practiced a nice little skill that will give the family a little pick-me-up and a little morale booster during the hard times. Now this is just a super simple candy recipe, and I chose this recipe because it only takes snow and maple syrup and a heat source. But there's some other pretty cool old-fashioned recipes out there also, although they seem to take some ingredients that can't be easily made or put into long-term food storage like the maple syrup can. And this video was just to get you thinking for two reasons. The first reason was to give just another idea of how to get a non-prepping spouse possibly partaking in a prepping related activity with you. And the second reason was to show that, after SHTF, that you can make your own morale boosting candy after you have used up your store-bought candy stockpiles. So now, instead of just you hearing from me, I want to hear from you, and I want you to hear from each other by reading what others have to say. So comment below, have you ever tried making the snow candy before? And if not, do you plan on trying it out? Or do you have a different candy or a sweet that you plan to possibly make after SHTF? And what other type of morale boosters, besides candy or sweets, have you put into your preparedness plans? Please share your thoughts in your stories and read other preppers' thoughts, and let's learn from each other as a community. And let's start something new here. If you read a comment that you like, give that comment a thumbs up, and also take a second and comment on that person's post and let them know that you liked their comment. And if you'd like to see a video and learn how you can practice using contact and cover for security purposes after SHTF, a link to that video should be appearing in the upper right hand corner of the screen about now. Also, while I enjoy making these videos for pennies on the hour, I am wishing to purchase better video and editing equipment that will allow me to make better quality videos for you all without actually putting me into debt to make the videos. So if you have the disposable income, please consider joining my Patreon video channel, where for just $1 a month you'll get early access to videos and also receive special prepper and naturally made gifts from time to time and other exclusive Patreon member rewards when they become available. Anyways folks, hey, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.